Let's do more on tax compliance as being called by the President Akufo-Addo. And joining me for a discussion on this is Christian Soti. He's former Controller and Accountant General, and he's now MD for Strategic Mobilization Limited. I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Soti. Hello, Mr. Soti. You're on the pulse.
Hello.
Yes, great.
Yes.
So the president has been lamenting over the more than 60,000 professionals who are non-compliant to the tax laws. How serious is this challenge?
You see, you said the president said what?
The president has been lamenting and calling on professionals to actually pay their taxes because he says over 60,000 professionals are evading taxes or either evading or are non-compliant of the tax laws. And I'm asking, how serious is this problem?
Yes, I believe it's a very serious issue because taxes are the engine for development, or the oil for the development, because without taxes, nothing can be done. It doesn't matter whatever plans anybody has. Without taxes, nothing can be done. So, if they say professionals, people who are supposed to have been enlightened members of society, those who at least know the laws and the rules, and they are also not compliant, then we have a big issue. And I believe that it's just a picture of the bigger picture. Because if you take, for example, the economy, the informal sector, we are told it's about 80% of the total economy. And the formal sector is 20%. Meanwhile, the formal sector contributes about 90% of the tax revenue. So it means that majority, 8 out of 10 people who are supposed to pay taxes are not paying. And so that is a serious matter. So I think.
All right, I think we're having challenges with Mr. Soti's line. We'll try and get him back because he's making a very important point about how people are either evading or are non-compliant to the tax laws. And he says it's a very big challenge that needs to be dealt with. Remember, he's been there before. He's dealt with some of these issues. In fact, he's gone on to establish a scheme for the petroleum sector that helps mobilize funds and revenue for that sector during his tenure. He'll be telling us more about that, but he's also making the point that we need to set up as a country and ensure that we all comply with the laws. If you look at the figures I showed you earlier on the dashboard, you realize that the figures keep coming down, declining. If you look at the figures again, and I want to refer you to it again, from 2012 to 2020, you realize that the tax revenue increased a little, but if you look at the compliance, you will see that it has actually declined as the years go by, which is unacceptable according to Mr. Soti. And indeed, it's what the President Akufo-Addo has been lamenting over this afternoon when he addressed the Ghana Bar Association conference. Thankfully, Mr. Soti is back. Mr. Soti, I'm asking, you've been at the Controller and Accountant General's Department before. What are we not doing right? The reason why we're here?
Oh, yes. I think when it comes to this issue of taxes, everybody seems to be an expert. And everybody is professing all kinds of theories. But I tell people it's not that easy. I think what we have not done right is that our basic structure has not been put in place. In that we don't know who is who because we don't have an identity. You meet somebody on the street and he can give you any name. If you ask him, what's your name? He can call any name for you. And there's no way you can verify. because we don't have identity. Unlike certain countries where everybody, by the time you are born, you are registered, your fingerprint is taken, you are given a specific ID, either a tax number or a social security number. We don't have that thing here. So, because of that, everybody is an anonymous person. So when he's doing business, there's no way you can track him and be able to collect taxes. And that is what is being corrected by now the national identification, and then also linking our national identification to our taxes. Secondly, the other aspect is that we don't even know where people live because houses are not numbered, streets are not named. So if you want somebody's residence, he will describe it for you. And so you may likely get to the wrong place. Now we are trying to give people digital addresses. And that is even not enough because that for digital address, I can give you and it can take you anywhere. But we should be able to name street, number every house. Then when somebody is doing business and it gives you the address, you can go basically to that place and you'll be able to identify the person. So these are elements that are missing in our structure. And so it affects taxes because we cannot even collect property rates. Houses are not numbered. Even common property rates are not collected. So these are all mitigating factors that has resulted in this issue of majority of people not paying tax. There may be other issues.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll put these two first as the main factor.
I'm aware that during your tenure, you established the strategic mobilization scheme for the petroleum sector. What was this about, and what does it do to actually help in revenue mobilization? And how, by your example, how can we actually put this also on the mainstream tax collection and revenue mobilization?
Yeah, okay. So, Strategic Mobilization Limited is involved in revenue assurance and revenue mobilization. We are only supplementing the various departments that are already doing their work, assisting them, and we are using technology. And you should remember that the areas we are dealing with are very limited areas in scope, in that if you come to the petroleum sector, I mean, there are only few petroleum companies in the country, few depots, so it's easy to monitor. Unlike talking about other taxes where the base is very broad. So we have come in with technology, removing the human factor out of the equation to make it easy to monitor revenue. And in this case, if you take the petroleum sector, the revenue is paid when the fuel is lifted, the petroleum product is lifted at the depot. So we have metered the depots, the pipelines, where the petroleum is lifted. And so anytime there's a lifting, it records. And this recording is now compared with what has been declared. And if there are any issues, it's reconciled. So this is actually what we are doing. And we believe that it's just a small sector of the economy we are dealing with now. And when every sector we identify what are the drawbacks and what are the things that can be done, I believe we can start solving the problems little by little. But as I said, the important factor is we should be able to identify people and identify where they live. And that one, coming to the wider revenue, it will go a long way to help us.
For the immediate to short to immediate long term, what do you want to see happen? What measures do you want to see, critical measures to deal with this situation? Just like the president is saying, is so worrying.
Yes. So I believe that I believe the agencies are almost at the edge of getting hold of this issue. Because if everybody is given an identification and everybody's identification is linked to his tax, then I believe that to a large extent we may not be able to get everybody, but we may get majority of people. And then if you remember, I think last week or a week before, it was reported that the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority said now companies' expenses that are not backed by past invoices will not be accepted, will be rejected for tax purposes. So I think if that comes, it is implemented fully, then everybody who is going to buy for business purposes, you want to buy from a VAT-registered trader. In that case, everybody who wants to do business with other companies will now be registered, get VAT registered. Then everybody will come into the tax net and then we'll start declaring. So I believe that slowly we are getting to that point. I know also that big data systems are being put in place so that data mining, once those are also in place, the experts can use data to determine who has been doing business and what level of business they have been doing. And that also will help to be able to bring people into the tax net. So I believe that all these things are being put in place, and in the end, it will help to resolve this issue of people not paying tax or don't be able to be identified. It will curb those issues.
I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. Christian Sote is former controller and accountant general, and he's been talking about how we can put in measures to ensure that our taxes are paid and revenues generated for the country.